I don't know what type of dirt Apollo Crews has on Triple H or The Rock or the top brass in the WWE, but this man has survived every damn release for the last 5 years. I don't know how this man is still surviving, still kicking it. I don't know. I don't see how Apollo Crews still has a job. Not that I want to see him lose his job. I don't want to see any of these talent. Okay, everyone that got released recently, I did not want to see them lose their livelihood. Okay, I don't want to see that happen to nobody. But this is business. This is how the WWE operates. Eventually, we are going to get more releases. If you think this is the last batch of releases we're going to get, think again, because we're bound to get more releases coming soon, most likely around October or November. And we can say all we want that the names that were let go, it's unfair, there's too much potential being wasted. Oh, I'm fans of these guys and girls. We can say that all we want, but at the end of the day, how we view these talent that were let go and released, they look at them entirely different. How we view these talents, it's different to how they view them, and they're not going to view them the same way that we view them. How we look at them as talent. Oh, we may think that a Cora Jade, a Jakara Jackson has all the upside, all the potential, but that top brass, they think differently. They're thinking long-term picture, and they don't see a Cora Jade or a Jakara Jackson being a top name, someone that's going to draw money in the women's division. So right now, I'm going to go through the names of everyone that was released. Okay, so according to Fightful Select, eternal memos have gone out indicating a number of wrestlers have been released by the company. Those wrestlers, as of this writing, are Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman does not surprise me at all. He was released the first time around 2021, I believe, and he was brought back a year later by Triple H. Braun Strowman wasn't doing anything under Triple H. Let's just keep it a buck. His only best match he has had was with Bronson Reed, that last man standing match. His stuff with Bronson Reed was the best of Braun Strowman under the Triple H regime. But if you want to see the best of Braun Strowman, go watch him under the Vince McMahon regime, because that's when Braun Strowman was relevant. That's when Braun Strowman meant more to the company at that time, because Vince looked at him as a monster. Vince knew how to book Braun Strowman. And the longer that Triple H has been in control, we see that he doesn't exactly know how to book big men in wrestling anymore. Guess what? A lot of big men in wrestling are not being booked correctly. Vince McMahon seemed to be the only one to know how to book a big man. And now he's gone. He's off the creative team for good. So Braun Strowman doesn't have that safety net anymore, Vince McMahon. So Braun Strowman does not surprise me that he's let go. It was only a matter of time. Dakota Kai. Dakota Kai is a little bit disappointing, considering that she was just getting her feet wet as a solos act, and she was starting to come into her own, kind of finding herself a little bit. Yes, I know that she's injury prone and she gets injured a lot. She's hurt a lot of the times, but I think she really got the best out of Lyra Valkyria in those Intercontinental Championship matches. And it was only a matter of time that she was going to win that Intercontinental Championship eventually. I thought she should have won the tournament. I thought she should have been the inaugural champion. Okay, but obviously they had to go at Lyra Valkyria. That was the favorite to win. So with Dakota Kai, this is her second time being released. I do not see her ever coming back. See, once you get released twice by the company, you're not coming back. There's no way you're coming back the third time. Same thing with Braun Strowman. It sucks for Dakota Kai because there's definitely some potential with Dakota Kai that was definitely untapped. You know, you saw a little bit of what she can do in Damage Control, and that was the most that we got to see of her in Damage Control. But as a solos competitor, someone by themselves, we didn't really get to see much of her, you know? So, Shayna Baszler. Shayna Baszler, it's shocking to me, but at the same time, it's not. Because what was she really doing? You know, she was in catering most of the time. You know, Pure Fusion Collective is now broken up officially due to these releases. Sonya Deville got released months ago, and Shayna Baszler, and now Zoe Stark is by herself. Okay, Shayna Baszler has been a soldier for the women's division, and I thought she was best used under NXT Black and Gold, where she was her most dominant self. She didn't get a chance to really showcase what she's really capable of under Triple H. See, under Triple H, she wasn't given much of an opportunity, and she was barely seen for the most part. When she was under Vince McMahon at least gave her an opportunity. Yeah, he didn't book Shayna Baszler like this invincible monster of a competitor. You know, maybe the first couple months she was steamrolling through every woman in the division and won that chamber match where she had eliminated every woman. And then she lost to Becky. And then since that point, it had seemed to be hard for her to recover from that loss to Becky Lynch. Okay? Yeah, she was teaming with Nia for a minute. You know, she was just mainly shoved into these random tag teams. And that's about it. She tried to get a little bit out of Ronda Rousey. And, you know, she gave Ronda Rousey was, Shayna Baszler gave Ronda Rousey her last match at SummerSlam and retired Ronda Rousey. But nothing ever came out of that whole thing, right? You would think, okay, Shayna Baszler was the one that retired Ronda Rousey. Okay, maybe something big is going to come out of this for Shayna Baszler. Nope, just a random makeshift tag team with Zoe Stark, and then she gets paired up with Sonya Deville. She talks some crap about Jade Cargill, saying that she can whoop her ass in real life. And then that was the end of Shayna Baszler's career. At that point, maybe it had something to do with what she said about Jade. You know, I can beat her in a shoot fight. And I know that Shayna Baszler could beat Jade in a fight. But this is fake pro wrestling at the end of the day. This isn't MMA. So maybe those words got her in hot water. You're talking ish about the cash cow in the women's division. So that could have contributed to her being let go. Now we got Katana Chance and Kaden Carter. Look, what's the sense of having the women's tag team titles if you're going to get rid of the entire tag team division? Kaden Carter, Katana Chance, they are the only legitimate tag team in that women's division that you had hired. Yes, they won the women's tag team titles one time, and they lost it a month later to the Kabuki Warriors. They didn't get much of a time or much of a title reign to show what they got. I mean, they were a great tag team for the women's division. But what's the sense of having a division where you get rid of your most legitimate women's tag team? You know, and most of these releases consist of women that are in a tag team. Kaden Carter and Katana Chance, they didn't need to level up in the division. They didn't need to break up. Their spot could have been a tag team for the rest of their career. And that would have been a great spot for them because, you know, they would have put more legitimacy on the women's tag team titles. Okay. They were a talented bunch. They can definitely go in that ring. Um, their matches to me have been solid. Um, with Kaden and Katana, but once again, these are two women that weren't really given much ample time to really establish themselves as an act. And this one is very disappointing and a shock to me, and that's Cora Jade. Now, Cora Jade has been injured quite a lot, but she's young. She'll be able to recover in no time. Um, she was at one point due a women's title reign in NXT, but I just never materialized. I thought she was going to go to TNA and take that TNA Knockouts title off of Masha Slamovic, but she did not do that. I thought she was going to win that title. I think the best spot for her would have been in a tag team, a partnership with Roxanne Perez. And those two going up the main roster together, becoming the women's tag team champions, having their little program together. I thought those two together would be great TV, in my opinion, because the most history that Cora Jade has had history with in NXT has been Roxanne Perez. So I think those two would have been great together if you just pair them up and have them, go after the top names in the women's division on the main roster. Um, but Cora Jade to me definitely had some upside and a lot of potential. Once again, they could have done something with her. They could have, because she was one of their top female names in NXT, and she was there since the NXT 2.0 days. But unfortunately, when it comes to politics in the WWE, that's going to rear its ugly head. So now we got Gigi Dolan. Right, Gigi Dolan, part of Toxic Attraction. I think she recently came back and teamed up with Shotzi and Tatum Paxley. They formed a trios faction. Um, Gigi Dolan is somebody that could have been a big name and someone that could have really popped when given the chance. I thought when she broke away from Toxic Attraction in 2023, she impressed me with a couple of her promos. There was one promo that she had cut on JC Jane that really impressed me. And that made me think to myself, okay, there's definitely some potential there. And she's definitely showing some character and gave a background of her childhood and how she grew up and her family life. It made her look relatable. And it made me go like, okay, give this woman some time to cut a promo. Give her the mic more often. She will definitely deliver in that ring. She'll deliver cutting a promo and she'll definitely get people interested. So I think that's another case of someone having untapped potential. Riley Osborne, I don't know who that is. Maybe he was part of Chase U. Don't know much about him. Don't really care at the end of the day. Eddie Thorpe, all I know was that he was on camera with Shawn Michaels a couple of times, which that's good for him. That's a big deal, right? And you would think, okay, he's getting a major push from that. And the only thing that led to anything noteworthy has been his feud with Trick Williams, which was short-lived. Okay, Trick wound up winning that feud in that underground match in NXT. So nothing really came out of that for Eddie Thorpe. I thought Eddie Thorpe is somebody that he's going to eventually just fade to the background, because I realize there's nothing there with that guy. And I didn't see much in him to begin with. So this one doesn't surprise me, nor am I disappointed at that release. Now, Jakara Jackson is someone with more potential and someone that has shown improvement. Once again, part of a tag team with Lash Legend. They could have been going after the women's tag team titles. You let go two halves of Meta 4. Now you're down to Meta 2. with Lash Legend and OM Dar. Now, Lash Legend, I think she's going to do great by herself. But what is the point of having a women's tag team division if you're going to release women's tag teams, like women that are part of a tag team? What's the sense of having that division around? Okay. And to me, Jakara Jackson was giving me Alicia Fox vibes, you know? And I think she could have stuck around. She definitely could have showed more improvement and definitely given her more opportunities to shine, you know? And now we move on to Gallus. I said it once before in a video. I'm gonna say it again. Everyone else can probably say, well, Gallus wasn't doing anything. They've been here since the NXT UK days. They're not being used. Okay, true. But the best way to use Gallus would have been put him together with Drew McIntyre on the main roster, right? Drew McIntyre hates the bloodline, and the bloodline ruined his life for 2 years. Okay, how about have Drew McIntyre create his own bloodline faction by recruiting Joe Coffey, Mark Coffey, and Wolfgang, right? Drew McIntyre can make up his own bloodline, have those guys do his dirty work. They could jump all his enemies. They can beat up all his enemies. They could help Drew win matches, help Drew win the world title. Like, let's stop playing games, man, and had actually paired these guys up with Drew McIntyre. That's something. That's giving those guys something to do. Okay, you don't know what to do with Gallus? Put them with Drew McIntyre. That's what you can do with them. And that's the best spot for them because then they're in the main picture. They're in the main event picture with Drew McIntyre. They get more TV exposure. You give them something to do. You pair them up with a bigger name on SmackDown. Instead of releasing them, you could have put them together with Drew McIntyre. And that's something that I pitched months ago. Put them with Drew McIntyre and see what happens. Moving on to Oro Mensah, he was part of Metaphor. He was released as well. I don't know much about him. I've seen a little bit of his stuff, a couple of his matches. I mean, he's solid. He alright. He a good hand. The last one is Javier Burnell. I don't know who that is. Okay, maybe he was an NXT level up or part of Evolve. I don't know. I really can't care less, to be honest. But yeah, man, these releases, specifically the women, it's pretty disappointing. And I look back at these releases and I just say to myself, there's so much potential that you waste it. Braun Strowman saw that one coming. Like, even with Kaden Carter, Katana Chance, there's still something there, and you still could have given them, kept their spot as a tag team for the women's tag team belts and given them a second reign, a couple of reigns, right? They could have done so much more with Shayna Baszler, Cora Jade, Dakota Kai, Braun Strowman. It seemed that they're only going to do so much with him, and his stock has depleted a lot these past few years, so it was only a matter of time. So let me know what you guys think down below in the comment section. What do you think about these latest releases? And do you think there's going to be a next batch of releases down the line?